Welcome back to the Ponca City Monthly podcast. This week is our special episode where we recap what's going to be in the July issue of the Ponca City Monthly. So this week I have Kelsey with me. Kelsey, how are you doing?
I'm good. Like, looking at this magazine gets me so in the spirit of 4th of July.
You know, I really wanted something very summery on the cover, so I think we nailed it with this kid. And
Let
they're
me show everybody the cover here.
Yeah, go right ahead. Look at that.
Look at that.
That's fun.
Cute little kid on the cover.
We haven't had a kid on the cover in a few months.
Yes.
So
and she's missing her two front teeth.
Yeah.
It's so precious.
That was the sell point.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and the Project Transformation is such an awesome program. I think particularly since, not to be political, but since Oklahoma is kind of falling in reading and school work, I think having a program like that where we teach kids how to read and people come into our community to show kids how to read is really important.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to say that this particular project was funded through AmeriCorps, and they pulled the funding. And there were people within this church that stepped up to make sure it still happened. So, I mean, classic case of the community really stepping up and doing this because they know it's transformational for these kids, so they don't lose that learning gap in the summer. So really cool project.
I had the opportunity to talk to Marlis, who wrote the story. And so I got a lot of insight about that particular program and how they work. And that podcast is going to come out in 2 weeks. So you'll definitely want to get to listen to her because she tells you a lot of behind the scenes, because it's not just, on one hand, they have group projects where they set out and they read together in a group. And then they break out into smaller groups where that's just one-on-one. So I think that's really important. It gives kids confidence. And I think you probably know this because you have kids. I don't. So my kids are very grown. Like during the summer months, they lose if they don't read and they don't participate in reading and participate in educational type things. They lose some of that.
They do. They like slip back as far as their reading levels go. So and it takes extra time for them to catch back up. Whereas you have other kids that did read who were, hit the ground running, so to speak. So it's really important.
And I was telling Marlis as we were talking that I think it's funny because, I meet some people who are adults who you're like, oh, what was the last book you read? And they're like, I don't remember because that was in high school.
Isn't that crazy? It is. I'm like I read 2 to 3 books at a time. I primarily read audiobooks. Plug to Brace Books on that because they have an app called Libro and you can do audiobooks but also support your local bookstore. So check that out. But yeah, people that don't ever read, I'm like, well, what do you do with your time? So I don't know. I mean, all these adults that aren't reading books are just missing out, but God bless them.
But so I think that's a great segue into Brace Books because they do reviews for us every month. You get 2 new books. They have them at the store. They also have lots of great things they do at the store.
They do. So Tara Anson is the owner of Brace Books. And I just got to say, the last 6 or 7 months, they've completely redone the store. They've got some new sitting areas in there. But also they're on TikTok now, and they are making the funniest content, which it's just the day and age that if you're not creating content, if you're not doing the video game, you're way behind. So there's something called BookTok. Are you familiar with BookTok? It's a whole subculture of and we have some local BookTok influencers, I guess you would say, that are very active at Brace Books. So definitely check out their Instagram, Facebook, and their TikTok.
Very cool. Something I like about them is they have that where they keep local artists, or they carry a lot of local books. So that's really cool. I think they have a local section.
They do.
So, also we've got a great story this month about the Icon Theater.
Yes. It's a big news.
It
is.
A
big project. So I actually was pretty involved in this because, as we discussed last time, I am the mayor. So I work with Ponca City Development Authority and I go to all of their meetings. This is a project they've been working on for a really, really long time. So they finally were able to make it public. I think they announced it, I think it was October, November of 2024. Got a really cool... The Icon Cinemas is this kind of growing theater chain. They own theaters in Texas and Oklahoma. And so we're getting one in Ponca City, and it's a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, and I'm just going to plug our podcast because I did a great podcast with Liz Leeming about this subject, but we did it so far in advance. I did it in March when the news was just barely breaking. And so there wasn't, nobody knew about it. And so I'm really happy that we have kind of an in-depth story. There's going to be a lot of fun things. I mean, they're not just going in and opening the theater back up. They've gone in and gutted it and really recreated the cinema experience because let's be honest, we all have super awesome home theaters.
We do.
But you can't get Dippin' Dots and things like that. And
so they're
unlimited popcorn.
Yes, they're going to have reclining heated seats. They're putting in $2 million worth of renovation.
Wow.
So completely, brand new interior. Because I think we all remember what it was like in 2020. They closed. It was the AMC theater. And it had just kind of gotten run down. I remember people talking about this floor was kind of sticky. And so completely redoing the entire everything. So it's going to feel like a brand new theater.
Yeah.
So.
And just because they're our friends and they're across the street, we want to plug that the Ponca Theater is still doing movies. And they're still doing first run movies.
Yes.
And it is going to be a little bit before the Icon Theater is ready to open. Mm-hmm. We've got a couple more months. Didn't we say that?
Well, originally, so here's a little insight. And they didn't really get into this in the article, but the Icon Cinema was supposed to be open by the summer. So they were supposed to be open by by July. They had a little bit of a glitch with the fire suppression program or the fire suppression system. And so it's actually going to not open now until November, which is okay because it's got to be safe. It's got to be up to code. So that delayed them a little bit. They're still, on the fast track to open by November, which is before the big holiday movie season. So look for November for an opening date.
Fantastic. That's going to be a lot of fun. And another great story. And this one you were very excited about. And this is the story you wanted on the cover is the Marland furniture. Tell us a little bit about that. The Marland furniture restoration. Sorry.
So let me tell you a little bit. So let me get to that right page. So page 14, if we flip over.
We'll flip there real fast because we're going through the magazine.
Yes, we are. So little fun fact about this. I'm not on the Marland Estate Foundation. I'm not on that board, but I love the Marland Mansion. And so I got a phone call one day and they were like, Kelsey, they're moving the Marland dining room table in. Can you come and take pictures? And so I actually went. And so it's on page, that's what I was flipping through here, on page 17. Mm-hmm. And then on page 18, that guy's name is Tom. And so they needed help. They needed physical help moving the table. And so I have 2 young strapping children that helped move this Marland dining room table in. And the story about this table is it's almost like unbelievable because that is the original Marland table. It's got 17 leaves with it. It's a massive table. I mean, priceless. But they were able to locate it, redo it. A lot of the leaves that were in the table were all bent. And so it's taken them 2.5, 3 years to redo these leaves. And I just kept thinking I'm watching the original Marland table for the first time in 60 years go back into the Marland dining room. Oh, wow. And it was just such an experience for me. So I think this is a huge thing for Ponca City. So the funny thing is that a lot of people, what they had this old 1980s banker table that was always covered in a tablecloth. So nobody really knew it wasn't the original one. So when they moved it out, I was like, what an ugly dining room table we've had in there for a long time. So to have the original that's just beautiful wood, you have to go see it. You have to see it up close.
And it tells in the article, but they were able to do the provenance to know that it is the original.
It is the original.
There were some markings on the underside of the table. We show pictures. I don't know if we show pictures of it. I don't think I did that.
Yes.
But there are markings on the table that show that it was the actual table. So there's no question about where it came from.
I remember this story is the guy, Tom, who found the table, something about it wasn't under the name Marland. So they thought originally that it wasn't the Marland, but it was actually the guy who designed the Marland Mansion.
Right.
It was under his name. And
John Forsythe.
John Forsythe, yes. Yep. And so he ordered it from a company in, was it Pennsylvania? I think that's right.
Kansas City?
Kansas City. Yeah. One of those.
I made notes.
Good job. I don't have notes. I'm going off my memory. But yeah, they tracked it down, and there was only like 3 of these specific dining room tables ever made.
Wow.
So it was one.
You had to have oil money to get one of those tables.
You did, and now we got it back. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we sort of skipped over it really quickly as we were going through our notes, but the archery range.
Yeah,
It's
so
really a fun little thing. And again, this is another story that I got to discuss with Marla's, and we got to talk about it in detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me your...
Shout out to Jason Grace. Jason Grace owns Grit and Grace Outdoors in Newkirk, and he's a huge outdoor sportsman kind of guy. He works at the Evans and Associates Ranch. And he just wrote me on Facebook one day and was like, hey, we got a lot of cool stuff going on at this archery range. I had never even heard of it. So,
Sure.
I mean, and this is another case in point of people say you're going to run out of stories. Well, no, we're not. Like, I had no idea. And this is a huge archery range. They get they're very active. They have stuff going on all throughout the year. So if you didn't know, now you know. So.
Yeah, and they one of the things that I really thought was interesting is that they don't have just, when you see an archery range, you think of like you stand at one end, there's a target at the other end, and you hit it. But they have 3D targets where it's like different things, and we have a picture of one of them in here, and it's like a camp that's been destroyed and there's a bear and you get to shoot at the bear. And I think that is just hysterically funny.
Well, and if you know Jason Grace, I mean, he's so creative. He is always going over the top, but he really likes to make stuff fun for the kids. He's got kids. And so they do, obviously it takes a lot of volunteer hours to make stuff like this work. So kudos to the volunteers who have obviously put their heart and soul into this.
Yeah, and we give you all the contact information in the articles.
And
so
follow them on Facebook.
Yeah, and so you can take a group out there. They're always looking for people to come out, and they would love to see more people utilize the space. So there's ample opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And let's see. We also have a great story about the Strong Dads.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
So the Strong Dads program is a fairly new program. It was started a couple years ago, and it's funded through the state of Oklahoma through the extension office. And so basically what they do is they teach classes for, maybe dads that are struggling, maybe dads that have gotten in some sort of trouble, or maybe they haven't had custody of their kids. And so they put these dads through these programs and give them resources. And the really cool thing that I think is there's a lot of resources out there for moms, for single moms. There really wasn't a lot out there for dads. And so I feel like that this really kind of filled a gap in that. And so Rob Bodick, he's a fellow city commissioner with me. He is the coordinator for that program. And oh my gosh, he just tells me that this program is transforming the lives of these dads. So I just thought it was such a cool story. Yeah,
and it's a 12-week program that they kind of go through, and they kind of learn all sort of like life building skills. Because I think there is a huge amount of energy put into moms and single moms and things like that, but we sometimes forget that there are also single dads.
Yeah, absolutely, and they need our help and our support.
Yeah, so, and they need to know how to do all the things as well.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Fantastic. Let's see. Now, this one was an interesting story, the Aiden Tapp story.
Yes.
Because that has a little personal connection to you.
It does.
Right?
Aiden Tapp, so for those, a little context, my husband is the Scoutmaster for Troop 524 out of First Lutheran, so it's a Boy Scout troop. Aiden Tapp is one of our scouts that has literally been in with us since he was a little bitty baby scout. A baby scout. They're
Don't
not
they have a
babies.
name?
He's like, they're Cub Scouts.
Cub Scout.
I call them baby scouts. And so I've got to watch Aiden Tapp grow and just become such this exceptional human. Talk about reading books. This guy reads huge, super thick books. He's very studious. He's got great grades, and he set a goal to get into West Point.
Wow.
And so when he graduated high school, he'd actually gone through all the motions and did everything, and he was right there to get into West Point, and he got cut. He did not get in. And you know what? That didn't deter him. He kept going, and he kept pushing. And so a year later, he finally met his goal. And so he is a cadet at West Point, and Ponca City is just so proud of him. And me and my husband are super, super proud of him.
I can imagine. Because, getting into West Point is not something that you just decide to do. You
No,
have to
it's
apply.
incredibly
And
hard.
and if I believe from the article we learned, today is his first day.
Yes,
he's
it is.
arriving today,
Yes.
and everything's getting kicked off today.
It is. So
So that's exciting for him. I hope he has a great time.
challenging.
Challenging, no doubt.
great, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, West Point is like where presidents and things like that come from.
It's a big deal, and you have to have a a recommendation from the United States senator from your state, and so it's
wow.
a very exclusive thing. We have had cadets get into West Point from Ponca City before, but from what I've told, it's been like a decade since it's happened. So it's a pretty rare and exclusive class of people who are the best of the best of the best, as they say.
Yeah. So congratulations, Aiden.
Yes,
That's
congrats.
fantastic.
Huge.
We're excited for you, and we can't wait to hear how it goes.
Yeah.
So, and we also have our monthly columns,
Yep.
and some of them have some special things going on. Shannon, who writes the Well-Be column
Yep.
with Aesthetic State of Mind, she is celebrating her 5 years. So,
She is.
and that column is kind of your guide to being everything beautiful and keeping you happy. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so Shannon generally writes about, skincare or keeping, healthy from the sun or vitamins or whatever. She's always talking about healthy stuff. But this month specifically, it is their 5-year anniversary for their business. Shannon was one of those businesses that started during COVID and, has really just taken something that started out teeny tiny and has just grown into this multi-million-dollar business. For those that know her and follow her on Facebook, she is building this huge brand new building out on Lake Road. And so this is kind of a thank you to all of her clients who've helped her along the way. And so that party's coming up. And so follow her on Facebook for more information on that.
Cool. And you may not be able to talk about this because you may not know, but she recently was just elected to the Ponca City Development Authority. She's like one of their advisors now.
Yes.
Is that true? Or?
That is true. Yep. She was just appointed to that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what do you know anything like what they do? Like,
so that's the same people that do the Icon Cinema, the Development Authority, same people. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, what does the advisors do? Obviously she knows it, because you may not know this, but she also has other businesses, right?
She does.
Yeah.
She owns the Marble Slab Creamery in Bricktown. And then she was a realtor and a real estate broker for a long time. But they just are kind of the financial trustees that manage the money that the Development Authority is funded through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Pretty big deal for her.
I remember because I followed her on Facebook. I remember when she was going through school to get her nursing license so that she could open and run Aesthetic State of Mind.
Yeah.
So, I mean, very proud for her. And it's amazing what has happened for her in the 5 years.
Yeah. Good things happen to good people.
Yep.
What do you say? Yeah.
I also think it's good things happen to people who work really hard.
Amen to that. Amen. Yep.
I mean, she's a good person, but she also busts her butt.
She's a hard worker. She really is.
She is. Yeah. And okay, so let's talk about Party at the Palace, because that's a big deal and it's coming up. Our chamber does a lot of stuff, and Party at the Palace is probably its biggest fundraiser, would you say?
It is, yeah. So Party at the Palace, so they have a Party at the Palace every year, but their fundraiser aspect of it, which is the auction, is only every other year. And so this is an auction year. It's a really, really big deal for them. So they raise all the money for 2 years on this one auction year. And just to give everybody an example, because some people say, well, what does the chamber do? So there is this big Jumpstart June campaign that the chamber did to help drive sales to local businesses, and it was all over Facebook. Did you see it?
Oh, yeah.
And people were, taking pictures of things that they were shopping for and hashtagging different things. And that was just a way to really just support small business. And so those are the kind of programs that the chamber does. And so it's really important to get out there and support the chamber so that they can continue to do this important work.
Yeah. And if you've never been to Party at the Palace, it really is a party. I think
it is.
My memory is not great, but last year was the where they did the diamond thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was a really cool, and it's fun and creative. It's always at the Marland Mansion. And so this year, Ashley Miller is the chamber chair, and she has got some really cool different ideas. It's the theme of it is hidden gems. And hold on, I'm going to get this wrong. You might have to edit this out.
Oh, no, we have a beautiful ad.
We have a beautiful ad.
Let me find the ad. Let's see. I know it's in here. I'm coming up on it. Speaking of our ads, while we're looking at this, I just want to say that my favorite thing is when Robin, who designs all of our ads, gets a month where she gets to design around a holiday.
Oh, I love it.
Because the ads are just so beautiful.
They
I mean,
are.
and with it being 4th of July, our magazine just looks so patriotic with all of the beautiful ads that she's created.
She does a fantastic job. It takes so much time on every ad.
Yeah, and she really takes care of her clients and makes all of their ads so pretty.
So the Party of the Palace is August 22nd, and the theme of it is a night of hidden spirits and local gems. And so what they're doing is they're actually going to have like a cocktail, a custom cocktail only created for this, and it's going to be somewhere hidden in a tunnel is what I'm told. I don't know. I'm not helping with that part of it. And then they're also going to have some local vendors that are like the hidden gems that are going to be set up, and there's going to be exclusive merchandise and exclusive stuff you can only get from this fundraiser at this event. So pretty cool stuff.
Okay, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. We've talked about the magazine. Mm-hmm. We've covered it. You know all there is to know about this issue. Now we're going to try something a little different. Ooh. We're going to start a new thing called Mayor Minute. Mayor Minute. But it's going to be longer than a minute. But Mayor Moment.
Okay, Mayor Moment. I like that. Yeah.
So, Kelsey, we're going to just ask you some questions, and you're going to get to talk about it. Okay. So, right now, if you're on Facebook, you're in any of the public forums, you know everybody is talking about the streets.
The restriping. Oh, my Lord. It's been the hot topic.
I've seen everything from praise to pitchforks. So give us the lowdown. Tell us about it and your take on it.
Well, so it's interesting because one of my mentors, when I started getting into politics, he said democracy is inherently messy. And this is a good example of not everyone is going to be happy with the change 100%. You are never going to get that. The majority of people I've talked to are thrilled. We've doubled the parking downtown. We've slowed down the traffic. Not everybody's 100% happy, but I think we all have this vision for downtown and what we want it to be. And this gets us closer to that vision. And so this actually was part of a comprehensive plan that was done back in 2009. And the goal is to drive more traffic downtown, more shoppers, more activity. And this type of parking angle, this type of driving lanes, that helps. All the scientific research, the people that are smarter than me, they say that this type of downtown configuration is what we need to do. And so again, it was decided back in 2009. And it just takes a long time for things like this to come to fruition. So the flower beds, basically one of the things that they do is when we built out the flower beds, we shortened the length of street that people have to walk across. It makes them feel safer. It makes them feel like it's a more walkable downtown. And so all those little things add up to a more pedestrian friendly downtown. So again, not everybody is 100% on board, but that's okay. And tons of people are super excited. And I think I heard this comment several times because we went from 4 lanes down to 3 downtown. And I heard a couple comments of people said, I was really worried when they did that to South Avenue, but I love it. And so I think that it's one of those things that change is hard for anybody. Yeah. But I think the more we get into it and the more people drive it, I think they're going to love it.
Yeah. And one comment I read, and I wanted to address it because they were talking about that there needs to be, I don't know the technical term, but places where people who are handicapped can have room to open their doors and use and so when I came to work this morning, I wanted to point out my secret little spot that I parked my little tiny car in now has the stripes to say this is not a parking area. This is now, and so I think those are really important.
Well, and you bring up probably the number one point of we had 0 ADA handicap parking spaces before this on Grant, 0. And so with this restriping, with redoing the parking, not only are we doubling the amount of parking spots, like we are adding 98 overall spots, but we're adding 2 ADA handicap accessible parking spots per block. Nice. And so, it's just, if you have your grandma that wants to come down, but maybe she's wheelchair bound or whatever, name the 25 different reasons someone's a handicap, they have a bad knee or whatever, this is going to make it more accessible, which is a win for everybody.
Very much. Well, we'll be back next week where we're going to talk about art camp. We've got Kestrel from City Arts, and so that'll be fun. And then we've got Marlis coming up. We're going to talk to her about her articles that she wrote for the July issue. So it's going to be an exciting month. So tune in. Thanks so much.